this screencast, I'm going to be going over the personal statement reading of Devon's personal statement essay called Rock Climbing as a Second Language. So at this point, I'm just going to be here. You should have finished the Do Now assignment on Nearpod. I did have like this little feature where you could record yourself saying the Do Now if you wanted to. So I'm going to try to do that from now on. And you should have gone through, and now we're at the point where you're reading the personal statement. When you're finished reading the personal statement, you're going to be answering the questions and highlighting some of the imagery and rhetorical choices in the passage. And then you're going to end your assignment today with going over your own kind of personal statement. It's not going to be a full-fledged essay, but you are going to be reading out you're going to be thinking about an event that you can use in the personal statement frame. Because last assignment, we talked about what a personal essay is framed around. Really, a personal essay is framed around an event, and you are writing about your response and your reflection about that event. In your response, you're talking about how you felt in the moment, and then in your reflection, you're talking about how that changed you and how that demonstrates something that you've learned, some sort of personal characteristic that you have that has helped you improve, etc. And so as we're going through today, we're going to be answering 3 guiding questions, and these are all aligned to the questions that are in the Nearpod assessment, which is what makes Devon's essay memorable, right? This is a personal statement essay for college. You're going to be using this to help you get into college, and so part of that is thinking about how you stand out, how you make something more memorable than just like, I think I'm a good leader. I'm a good leader because, right? You want to make it memorable. So what makes Devon's essay memorable? The second guiding question is, what rhetorical choices does Devon use to communicate his message? So just like the author from Into the Wild, and just like other authors we've been reading this quarter, like Julia Alvarez and George Orwell, everyone is using some sort of choice or devices to help their message be more clear and more emphasized, okay? And then what is the message? So like, what is he trying to show about himself through this essay? Because that's the important part. Every personal statement is supposed to highlight something about you that's important, that's going to contribute and help you be successful in college. And so what is Devon's message? What is he messaging to the admissions board here through his essay? So I'm going to start by reading, and I will annotate a little bit. But remember, you don't have to submit your annotations. This is just me reading to help you get started before you start answering questions. So Devon, rock climbing is a second language. There I was, hanging from the precipice, muscles trembling, fingers aching, sweat dripping onto my spotter 20 feet below. He could see I was struggling and shouted words of encouragement, but my head was pounding too loudly to make out the words. Think about how he starts. It hooks you in. There's strong imageries. There's strong imagery in the statement. Even thinking about his list here. Hanging from the precipice, muscles trembling, fingers aching, sweat dripping. It creates a sense of urgency, a sense of the picture of how he's feeling. It's a tense situation, and he starts with that right away. So now I'm hooked. I want to see, why is he trembling and aching and dripping sweat 20 feet above somebody? I want to know what's happening. During the initial ascent, I felt strong and confident, though the intense scope of the route had begun to loosen my physical grip as well as my grip on reality. I made it to the final hold, exhausting every drop of energy, unable to fathom lifting my arm again. The wall then became a towering mental blockade. I knew exactly where to put my hand next, yet I still didn't feel as if I had the physical means of doing so. I screamed and shot my hand up in a final attempt to finish the climb. I was only hanging on by my fingertips and sheer determination. Nevertheless, I had made it to the top. So, like, even this moment of just dramatic, like, anticipation. I shot my hand up in a final attempt. I was holding on by my fingertips, right? It creates that drama in the story. My belayer celebrated and lowered me down. Weak and exhausted, I could barely unclip myself from the harness. However, mentally, I never felt stronger. So obviously he's illustrating here like a really challenging experience of rock climbing, but it's created him it's had in him an attempt to be stronger. And so I'm going to keep note of that, right? Because rock climbing is what he's talking about, but I want us to think about what is he saying about himself as a person through this experience of rock climbing. It is during these experiences that the world falls away. All that is left is the rock face itself. I become one with the wall, solely captivated by the placements of its holds and the complexity of its challenge. Time ceases to exist. Rock climbing is a second language to me. I grew up scaling the tallest trees I could find, desiring the highest vantage point. Growing up in the uniformly flat state of Florida, I was limited in my upward journey. Luckily, I rekindled my love for climbing in high school, and now cannot imagine my life without it. My passion for climbing is fueled by the adrenaline that pumps through my veins. So notice that just in that one little paragraph, he gives a little bit of his background. He grew up in Florida. There's not a lot of mountains to climb, but it's something that he pursued in high school and he's really passionate about. At first, I was an impatient climber who would try to solve the wall before me, making split-second decisions. However, this strategy rapidly tired me out after beginning to climb. Clearly, this method wasn't going to get the job done. I had to change my mindset. Now when I approach a wall, I first draw the problem out in my mind, using my hands to examine the holds. Like a game of chess, I lay out an intricate plan of attack. If I am completely perplexed by a wall, I converse with other pro climbers to guide me towards the best route. Every time I interact with climbers better than myself, I learn a new technique and create new bonds. Being part of the rock climbing community has helped me develop my social skills. So there's a lot being said in this paragraph. I think that one of the big things that I'm seeing is that he's talking about how climbing a wall is like a game of chess, right? He's using a metaphor there. But I think that itself, the climbing is representing something else, right? If I lay out an intricate plan of attack, before I was someone who made split-second decisions. He's showing at first one way he solved and approached problems, and then now by showing us how he was solving problems at first and then how he learned to tackle walls through his experience, he is showing us growth mindset, right? I learn, even though I started by doing this, I learned that that's not the best thing. And even more, he shows like growth mindset where he's talking about when he interacts with someone that's better than him, he learns from them. So this shows like also self-confidence and like not self-assuredness, because he's not saying he's better than other climbers, but he has the self-confidence and maturity to learn from others and not always think like he knows best. And so that's someone that shows you that they accept feedback, that they want to grow. And so he's showing that in this story of being a rock climber. The best thing about climbing is that there's no clear-cut way to climb a wall, and there is always a new challenge. So I love this. This shows that he's always looking for a challenge and that he doesn't give up easily, right? He always is looking for a challenge and does not give up easily. My climbing partners say that I take the most unorthodox routes when climbing, but ironically, they're the most natural and comfortable path for me. I get lost in the walls and climbs for hours as time becomes irrelevant. I think of nothing else but reaching the last hold and forget all of my worries. Even when my friends beg to go home from fatigue, I insist on attempting another route. Never gives up, thirsty for a challenge, right? I don't feel I've had sufficient climbing session until my forearms are pulsing and the skin on my fingertips are raw. Hard work ethic. Patience, collaboration, and determination are all needed when climbing a wall, like in any field of research. Now he's getting to this idea of rock climbing and how it relates to his academics. I no longer say I can't do something, instead approach challenges with the utmost confidence. If one plan falls short, I reassess and approach the wall from another angle. I am comfortable making decisions even when I don't know what the outcome may be. Through this life-changing sport, I have strengthened not only my body, but also my mind, learning the beauty of problem solving. Awesome. And so through this quick personal statement essay, we're we're talking about one event, rock climbing, right? And then he talks about his responses in the moment, how those responses have changed from when he first started rock climbing to now. And he's also talking about his reflection. It's created him a beauty in learning problem solving. And so through this statement, I learn a lot about him, that he is hardworking, that he has a growth mindset, that he's always willing to take on a challenge, that he's self-confident in a way that's not arrogant, that knows that I will appreciate him on my college campus, right? And so now as I continue onto the Nearpod, I'm going to be answering questions about the rhetorical choices made here. And then thinking about your exit ticket today, what is one event that you can use to kind of build your personal statement around, right? Because we're going to be trying a few different ones, but what is one event that has changed or impacted your life and show some of your strengths and skills as a person? Okay, awesome.